Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. November 8-5, and 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my can use and 8-5, this is 7 November, Charlie. 8-5 right now. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, reference to your last, you're Brandon 158 extra box cross line with 1200 between teams, that's local. Also request 3 units take outbound records to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for pause with the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf, my unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha, Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Hey, I never took a dip. I forgot to take a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8-5, and 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
Hey, usually we talk about who's doing the introduction, but I guess we'll talk about it right now live.
There you go.
I'll go ahead and do it. Yeah. So, hey, welcome to, we're on Veterans Info Tap with Jason's channel. We're on Veterans Daily, our joint channel. And then we're also on the Civ Div right now. And we're going to do 2 things. Okay. First, we're going to answer your questions for sure. And then we're here to talk about evidence-based VA claims. We've been going at it for about a month and a half now, Jason. We've ironed out a lot of kinks, and if you have questions on how we can help you with your claim, that's essentially the whole point of this. Now, before we start pulling in questions, I'm going to share my screen here. I totally should have been prepared. I've redacted the veterans information, and I want to give an example of saying, hey, here's what we actually do, right? If you go with evidence-based VA claims, this is what we actually do. So this veteran obviously is, it's anonymous, right? We ask about your deployments. Your deployments will determine if you're presumptive or for, in this case, MUCMIs as well. We have 38 CFR codes there. This was done by one of our coaches. And then a brief summary of the theories of service connection. So how can you be service connected? There you go. This is kind of like a template for the coaches, if you will. And then we go down into the 5-step process, looking at what are you service connected for and increases for those. And all of this comes out during the one-on-one. Step 2 is looking at secondary conditions based on your service connected disabilities and your current symptoms. You can't just claim a secondary just because YouTube told you so. You actually got to have like a current diagnosis. Yeah. There's got to be some sort of like pathology or symptomology. I'm not a doctor, but that exists somewhere. Step 3 is denials. This is the most difficult piece of the one-on-one. And in my opinion, what most veterans actually need help on. A lot of this is done through conversation here. Let's see, going down to, so this veteran had 14 denials. Okay. So if I had to guess, the bulk of the one-on-one for this veteran revolved around each of these denials, and each one comes with these recommendations based on the veteran situation. Step 4 is new claims, mainly direct because increases in secondaries have already been covered up top. And then lastly, it's presumptive in terra. There's some notes down here. And then finally, the recommendations. And so I know I zoomed through that, but if you go with evidence-based VA claims, that's essentially what you're going to get. It is a deep dive into, hey, what can I possibly claim, right? A lot of veterans, in my opinion, have trouble figuring out themselves. Like, I didn't know about mental health until a solid year after leaving service, right? And someone was like, "Oh, you should claim mental health," and I was like, "Me? Are you serious?" Right?
Yeah.
So, it's the same aspect, but now we're talking about conditions like IBS and GERD and radiculopathy. And I didn't even hear about radiculopathy until I started looking at VA disability claims, right? I just know that when I go to number 2 and I sit at that angle, my legs are going to go numb, and it's going to give me I'm going to take a solid 5-10 minutes, even standing up to walk in the first place. Anyway, that's the whole introduction. That's how you do an introduction right there off the top of the dome. I feel like Jason now. Jason, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Hey, thank you guys for jumping on. We really do appreciate it. If you're not quite sure what Clay's talking about or why he went through that, that's because you've missed one of the videos about evidence-based VA claims and what that is. What that is it's our combined solution for folks that are seeking additional help with their claim. Look, ideally, here's the thing, and please hit the thumbs up for this and subscribe if you haven't, all that good stuff. It really does help. We are coming at this from the angle of hopefully nobody needs this, but it's ridiculous for us to think that nobody does. But we would much rather individuals be able to do it themselves, or ideally work with a fantastic, leaning forward veteran service officer, accredited rep, what have you, somebody who could throw that second set of eyes, work with you and do that. Those opportunities don't exist for everyone, and we would be naive to think that. That's why there's these companies out there that are making 5 or 6 times the amount of the increase, and we can't, in our hearts, have people go there and spend that much money of their benefits. So we've created an in-house solution. We have obviously a ton of knowledge from Clay's, just book, pull it out of the book, knows where to find everything within seconds, knowledge base, to me being an accredited veteran service officer for many years, running a team of accredited reps. We have assembled a fantastic team, and we call it evidence-based VA claims. That's what he was going through. If you've missed that, when this is over, go back to the beginning, or if you can rewind it and go back, you can see everything that we're doing. One of the things, Clay, that I want to throw out to folks is what I think, and I can speak for you, I think, on this too. When it comes to information being pushed down on YouTube, it's very, very hard to give somebody their specific situation because it's so nuanced. And I love that you said, don't just go file for a secondary because YouTube said you should. There's more that leads up to that. You might, but you need to cover these bases before you do. So this is really a way for us to have a way to really get in, look at your circumstances, your situation, your time in service, your story, and see either A, what you've missed, what you could do better. Maybe you had some things that, quite frankly, should be higher ratings. Not because and here's a funny thing, Clay, and I'm going to kick it back to you. Sometimes we as veterans think this one condition that I have, condition X, bothers me so much, man, that should be like a 70%, right? They don't even look in the schedule of ratings. 70% might not even exist for that condition. A great example would be like your lower back, lumbar issues, right? It has to be pretty, to get over a 20 or 30% rating range for lower back, you're practically in a wheelchair at that point. You are going to get a much lower rating than you think you should get for a back. However, what you may have missed could be secondaries because of that condition. This gives us that opportunity to really jump in and look at that type of stuff. So really, we are focused in now to provide that service, answer questions for you beyond what we do in videos, and offer those services if you can't do it yourself, and if you are having a hard time finding a credible accredited rep. Right? Not everybody's cut from the same cloth, unfortunately, and not every area in the United States has the same investment into veterans services, honestly. So when you comment, just go to your local veteran service officer. They helped me out. I did great. You know, they're totally easy. I got in within a week. That might not be the story for veteran A over in another area.
Mm-hmm.
There might not be that opportunity. So here we are. Clay.
Yeah, once a good VSO hits the radar, they're going to be jam packed right then and there, right? And I don't care how good you are, you have a limit, right? And I think we've turned away. I'm trying to think. So I if you're wondering, I look at every single email. I almost want to blow my brains out because of the amount of emails that I've looked at, right? But we turned away a solid amount of veterans. Something that bothers me, I wasn't planning on talking about it, was we've turned a lot of people who are already on IU, and their emails almost the same. Hey, I heard about IU going away. I'm scared. I want to submit more claims. I'm like, okay, first of all, CBO projections mean nothing. So relax. That's where it came from. And I think Jason and I know that just because we're so ingrained in the veteran space and veteran news that I can tell you that came from CBO projections. I want to say like 2018, 2019.
Right.
Relax. Anyway, so we've turned a lot of people away just on the basis of, hey, this service is not for you. And real quick, we have, so I don't know who is a member of who, but Andre Penn, thank you very much for joining one of the channels. We definitely appreciate it. And then same for Juan Rosado. Thank you for all that y'all do. I really appreciate it. Thank you, dude. That's awesome. That's awesome. But we have some questions here. I figured we just go ahead and take a question.
Let's do it.
If you have a question specific, if you're a viewer right now on live, if you have a question specific about evidence-based VA claims, put that in the chat, okay? I'm going to be monitoring two chats here. I'm going to go in order top to bottom on this chat. I'm going to look at new chats right here. So if you have a chat about evidence-based VA claims, throw it down. I will absolutely get to it. That's kind of the point of this. Then we have death before dishonor, # salute. I was going to say hashtag, but, you know, wanted to keep it OG 90s there and say pound. All right. Anyway. So Peter Scott says, I'm at 90%. I have 3 claims, 1 for sleep apnea with the CPAP, 2 for migraines, 3 for IU. Are they required to rate sleep apnea and migraines if they approve IU? So the VA is going to rate you. If you submit a claim, the VA is going to adjudicate all of those claims. And then don't forget, there's a rating schedule past 100%. There's a rating schedule past IU. There's a rating schedule past 100% on the SMC scale. So if you submit a claim, the VA is going to rate you. And likely, if anything happens, like if you're approved for IU, obviously it doesn't really matter. But you're at 90%. So I'm curious if your sleep apnea with the CPAP is it a good 90 or a bad 90? Because that would push you to 100% anyways. But regardless, they're going to rate you on all of your claims, Peter Scott. And I'm assuming there's like a mental health condition secondary there, or sleep apnea secondary to mental health, and that's probably the crux of your IU claim, probably. Just looking at this comment. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's solid.
All right. I will try not to answer in full. My bad. All right. Go ahead and take this one, Jason. Annette Baker.
So I can't read it. Go.
Oh, you can't read it. Okay. I will read it. My bad. Can a person receive service connection for hypertension secondary to migraines? I have something, I can't even pronounce that word, of unknown significance. My oncologist states she only knows one other veteran in her 20 years.
Okay,
So
so this is a so hypertension secondary to migraines. Was that the
Yeah.
basis, right? Anything secondary to anything, it's your own race.
Mhm.
I don't care if there's anybody else that has that. I mean, obviously the path is much easier, right? It's like court cases, right? If you had court cases going in a bunch of the same type of thing, and then that sets the precedent, and then it's like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen because that's the precedent. So obviously, if you had a bunch of those, then that's an easy answer. But what I'm going to say is you need to regardless of what it is, but to yours specifically, anything that's secondary to anything, you absolutely need to get solid medical evidence. Don't ever, and I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, Clay, seen way too many vets go, oh, I got this other condition, self-diagnosed, by the way, that is secondary to this other service-connected condition that I have, or maybe they go get diagnosed for that secondary, and then they just file for it with no linking of the two. Now, here's a funny thing. We talk about Nexus letters a lot. On YouTube in general, you'll see Nexus letters being talked about. Nexus letters, typically we're referring to connecting it to your time in service. You can also get a Nexus letter. A Nexus is basically creating the link between two things, the Nexus. A Nexus letter for a secondary. So in this case, you would want to work with your doctor, hopefully, ideally, a neurologist, right? Who could then say, because of your migraines, you now have this hypertension, or you can go to your cardiologist or what have you and do it that way, a specialist on either side that can essentially say that because of this, this is now happening. And it would be hard for the VA to say, well, no, doctors, you're wrong, unless there's hard evidence on anything that refutes that. So when it comes to secondaries for anything, you would absolutely want to get that Nexus buttoned up and dialed in before you submit a claim. Side note on that is if you're even thinking of filing a claim for anything, you should probably just throw in that intent to file if you haven't already, and start working on gathering that evidence. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
Annette, so there's when it comes to secondary claims, this is totally my opinion, by the way. When it comes to secondary claims, Nexus letters are going to be a factor here, especially on things that can't be x-rayed. So just food for thought. I'm not saying you have to do it, but it should be somewhere in your mind if you're denied, all right? Also, hypertension probably is a rating of 0, okay? Which for hypertension is still good, quote unquote, especially if you have like a diuretic and you have urinary frequency. That could be another secondary, right? So the reason I bring that up is because if you're not on a diuretic, you know, maybe the value of that claim goes down. I don't know. However that looks like. And then you have to think, are you 90% at 85? So then even if you did get it service connected, would it increase your overall rating? So there's a ton of questions I have before I like double down on my answer. And that's exactly what that's why we created evidence-based claims. There's absolutely no one single answer. It's very unique.
And to throw out one more kind of just reason, right? If you have a spouse and you don't have any, let's call it life-threatening service-connected conditions, and you're not at 100%, then if you have hypertension and you have a road to get that service connected, if you pass away from a heart attack, well, now you have a link for your surviving spouse to get into dependency indemnity compensation. So there's the whole big picture beyond the initial question. I did do a quick just pull up here. And it says, while migraines themselves don't directly cause hypertension, there is known association between the two conditions. So working with your doctors and seeing what they can put together as far as Nexus letters are concerned would probably be essential.
Yeah.
And also, Clay, not to mention, sometimes we think secondary's the route, the only route, but sometimes there might be a direct service connection route as well. So, there could be that. All right, go ahead.
Especially under Terra, maybe some exposure. Again, it's very unique to you. And that's pretty much what evidence-based VA claims. Now, we have this donation. I don't even know what to say to that. Thank you very much, Bill Saunders. Thank you for all you do. No, dude, thank you.
Wow.
Absolutely, right? It does blow my mind every time this happens that, like, the value we bring, people want to donate to the channel. I just think that's
right.
That's insane, dude, basically. Okay, and then we have another one. And then Bluffin, I also see your other comment here, but we'll go ahead and read this one first. He said, first of all, thank you. Also, Jason and I just talked about creating a video for, this is the cybersecurity awareness picture.
Oh, how funny.
We just had that conversation.
Yeah.
But he says, I'm getting out next November. Could I use your company to help with my BDD claim? How are BDD claims different? Are they more favored claims? Are they more favored? I wouldn't word it like that, but to get to why you're asking, the answer is yes. Okay. The single best time to submit a claims during your BDD. Yes, we can absolutely help you with that. What we would do, it would be slightly different than the 5 steps because obviously you haven't been denied. Secondaries probably aren't a thing, but we'll still think about them. And then it'll essentially all be new claims direct. But the question is head to toe. Have you even thought about TBI, migraines, mental health, sinus issues, tinnitus, hearing loss, rhinitis, respiratory, dental conditions, neck, nerves in your arms, shoulders, elbows, forearms, wrists, fingers? Like, have you thought head to toe? And if you need someone to walk you step by step, sure, we can absolutely help you with that. That's absolutely something that we offer. I'm going to assume your other question was the same. Oh, no, it was not. It was a little spicy. Okay. I'll let you answer this one, and then I'll probably give my 2 cents.
All right.
Do you view yourself in competition with VETCOMM? Hopefully not. I think the more genuine based veteran services, the better.
Yeah. Look, look, I think VETCOMM, personally, I think VETCOMM's fine. My stand on this is, look, you need to work with an organization, with people that you, for lack of a better way of putting it, vibe with, right? That you connect with. If you connect with folks at VETCOMM, then that's what it is. If you connect with us, then that's what it is. You need to work with people that you like and trust and that you can kind of connect with and have that type of conversation. So I wouldn't call it competition with them. People that want to go to them are going to go to them. People that want to come to us are going to come with us. What we're focused on, honestly, is 2 things. One, through our channels, give you enough information to where you could be dangerous yourself, potentially file the claim yourself, or get enough of it done and work with a rep. The second piece is we want to put a roadblock up against you going to a predatory organization that's charging you way too much. That's what we don't want to see, right? My feelings aren't hurt if you go somewhere else, but I'm going to be irritated if you go pay 4, 5, 6 times the amount of your increase. I think that's exorbitant. So that's my answer. What's yours?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely answer. So 36.67 is the base rate for 100%, no dependents. You going from nothing to 100 through a company that charged 5 times the increase would equal $18,335. Someone give me an argument as to why that's okay. Not to mention you're transitioning from the military. You're looking for a job. If you have family, like the more roots you have, the harder transition is. Even half of that price. They say, oh, brother, come to us. We'll give you half off. That's still
right.
$9,000, right? So, yeah, that's why we made this company. It's really nothing to do with VETCOMM. Now, we have another question on that, so I'll just double tap this one. Now that you guys are doing your own thing, are you still going to recommend them? I can tell you we're not going to recommend, like, why would we recommend another service over ours? But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with them. I can tell you, I have personally trained every single coach we have. One of them is actually better than me, and it makes me mad. That person, I won't say who they are, but they are really good. We'll just say that. Anyway, so every other coach I personally trained, and I can tell you that we're better, and I will die on that hill. But no, like we're not going to recommend them, but we're not going to go against them either. You know, I'm not going to say that they suck because they don't. I think they're the cheapest on the market if I'm right on that. But I can tell you we are better, and I know that for a fact. Anyways, Bobby D's, I hope that answers your question. We have a new member for 8 months. I didn't even know you could prepay membership, but that's cool. Awesome. So Leah Lewis says, number 1 of 2, I have your second one here. Don't worry. Says, is your team available to assist with filing a claims accuracy request? Keep in mind that no one here has VBMS access. Okay. So the claims accuracy is going to be through your narrative letter or your decision letters, and then through conversation. Okay. But the one coach I mentioned who's better than me, that is who like I would assign you to, because that's something that's one step up, if you will. Okay. And then her second one is, on June 18th, the VA denied my claim after they had combined my supplemental and HLR request. However, they disregarded my newly submitted evidence. I'm curious if you submitted both those claims at the same time. So once you do an HLR, you can't submit a supplemental on top, just because the HLR has to close out fully. Okay. So if it's a DTA error or whatever's going on, it has to close out fully, and then you can go ahead and slap that on there. That's my guess, just based on this comment. But again, sitting down with you one-on-one, looking at your decision letters, that's what this is for. All right. We have some other donations. William Wells Sr. says, you rock, guys. Awesome. You rock. It's a sweet picture you got there. Yeah. Troy Seagars says, I'm 70% for depression and anxiety, 30% vertebra neck disease, so in the cervical, and 20% lower back with degenerative disc disease. I'm 80% total. Did secondary claims for GERD and ulcerative colitis, was denied advice. Well, I can tell you straight up, 70% is solid for mental health. There's a potential for an increase that would at least be discussed, but I wouldn't put your eggs in that basket. 30% for a neck is absolutely solid. I can tell you right now, my question goes secondary.
Numbness and tingling. Yeah.
And then secondary for the nerves in your lower back.
For lower back too. And then arthritis.
Yeah. I'm curious as to when they were service connected. Because if it was a while ago, I would feel way more comfortable doing the secondary on the neck.
Right.
It would be reviewed again. The back, I would be comfortable going secondary with the back. If your back was 40%, I would probably pump the brakes a little bit. It just depends on your situation.
Right. Yeah. Again, and what's funny is that's what we talked about moments ago, about how you might think that your back rating should be higher. It's hard to get a high back or neck spine, rating unless it's super, super severe. I totally agree, Clay. I think the numbness, tingling in any of the extremities at this point, since we're talking upper and lower, you have a great potential to add per extremity 10 or 20, right? So 10 this arm, 10 that arm, or 20, 20, 10, 10, 20, 20 for the legs. You get the bilateral factor in there as well. Anybody who has any joint or back issues at all, always go and get checked for any level of arthritis. I mean, you don't even need to have it so bad to where you're taking any sort of treatment for it. They just need to recognize that it's there. And if they recognize that you have some arthritis starting to build up in these damaged areas that your service connected for, arthritis could also be in play. As for your denials, right? When we talk about denials, Clay, the first thing that always comes to mind is, okay, well, we didn't create that nexus, that link between that condition and your service connected condition if it's a secondary. So we didn't draw that line, or we didn't draw the nexus to your time in service for a direct service connection. It wasn't there solid enough. So that would be something that we'd want to really dig into and look at and see if there's a pathway there. The other thing that is frustrating is the GERD changes. For a lot of people, there's still, look, there's old videos on YouTube. So you always want to try to find the newest stuff when it comes to VA claims. Esophageal stricture is now the new criteria for GERD, which is really hyper focused on difficulty swallowing and the tightening of the esophagus. And that's really the two things they're looking at, and how bad is it and what kind of treatment do you have. So if you don't have it in that realm and you don't meet the criteria for that, that might not be a tree you even want to climb up. So shift gears and look at those other things. Back over to you, Clay.
Oh, yeah. Bobby D's, another question, says, do you offer payment plans? So we've thought about this. I'm definitely not going to commit to anything right here on the spot on a stream. We've thought about this. Keep in mind, we just started about a month and a half ago. I think once we have our waste in the pool, so to speak, and we have a good foundation, and then obviously some buffer, we can absolutely explore that. But there's going to be some changes at some point to the price structure, but we're just floating right now. All right. Our main concern is helping veterans and making sure our coaches are top tier. That's it. Everything else does not matter right now. At least from my perspective. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know we've spoken about that offline. I don't know how much you want to.
Right. Yeah. It's as we grow, right? As more people start to utilize the services, you put it well, right? As we get our waste in the pool and we get our foundation and we get some buffer room. Look, we got a team now that we're paying and software and, energy that we're putting into all of this stuff. Once all of that gets kind of the dust settles, it's something that we're definitely going to explore. So keep an eye open on that. I don't know what kind of time frame we're looking at, but what I will double down on is, yes, absolutely. Our focus is being the best at what we do. Like at the end of the day, we might not have the best, sexiest website. We might not have the best looking
I'll show you.
spokesperson, right?
Nice.
Right. It's good. It works, right? But the bottom line is that our focus, quite literally, is working with our coaches and making sure that they are a cohesive, solid team. And not only are we chiming in at our levels, but we also have people in place that are also chiming in. And it's just a big sounding board and everybody works together. Even if you're working with one coach, right? You're getting the benefit of all the knowledge of everybody who's involved indirectly. So we're excited about that. And we are going to be the best providers of the information that you're seeking at the end of the day. And just again, hopefully, I would say by the end of this year, that's the only thing that I would say is hopefully by the end of this year, this calendar year, we'd be able to have some sort of a payment plan kind of thing fully up and running. So
yeah. And I think I'm not going to, I don't want to put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I will say this though. It's crazy to me when I see an ad I am on the TikToks. Okay. I'm a millennial. I got a TikTok account or Instagram. It's crazy to me when I see an ad from name your claim company talking about how bad the VA is, this and that, and how 100% this and that. And they're making all these promises. And I'm like, dude, every veteran situation is so unique, so different. Having a superficial level of knowledge is not going to cut it, right? Like, do you know the MUCMI criteria and what countries are presumptive for things like chronic fatigue and IBS? Because it's not your presumptive PACT Act list. There are small things like that. I can tell you that within 5 seconds, I can tell you right now if someone's baloneying you or not. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents. And on that note, Thomas Wheeler, do you guys want to take on an 1151 claim? What I would do, Thomas, is email us at vaclaims@ebvaclaims.com. I'll personally see your email. I'll respond to it. There is one coach that we have that if they are comfortable depending on what evidence you're willing to share as well. If they're comfortable, then yes. If not, then I would probably not recommend that service. But shoot us an email. I'll go ahead and respond to you, and then I'll rope in that person as well and see if let me say it like this. We're not going to charge you a dime if we can't help you. Okay. And I think that's the crazy part there. Going to, Bluff and B, thank you for donating again. I'm sorry, that one time, which is right here. Appreciate that. We have another question. It says, thank you for answering my questions. Are you hiring? Not right now, but I tell you this, I have a good feeling that we will be hiring. We started with 4 claim coaches. We're now at 7. Oh, we started with 5. We retasked one to do something else. Right. Now we're at 7 coaches, and we're rolling. Okay, we don't have a wait list right now. Once we hit a wait list, Jason and I will probably sit down and say, hey, do we want to maintain a wait list? Do we want to hire on more coaches? I will tell you this. We will work out an interview process because I'm not hiring a coach that sucks. Straight up. So everyone knows right now, I'm going to ask you probably like 10 questions. And depending on how the veteran answers those, would determine if I think they suck or not. And I know that's super subjective, but like my greatest fear is I push a veteran to a coach and they get superficial level knowledge that they can Google or they can use AI for. And that's not the job. Okay.
No.
That's not the job at all. And then it says, I love to work with veterans and helping them get what they deserve. Yeah. Well, we will grow. I will tell you that. Looking at our numbers right now, we will definitely grow. Do you have any input to that?
Yeah. It goes back to, look, we are, without giving everybody's resumes away. I mean, we have people who've worked for the VA. We've had people that were previously accredited veteran service officers, veteran service reps, accredited with the VA. People who've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of claims.
Yeah.
And that's the type of caliber that you deserve, which is the whole purpose, again, of why we're doing this. And at the end of the day, and what's funny is on our website, and I can't remember the exact words, but it's, look, why should you use evidence-based VA claims? I mean, it says it straight on the website. What's the reason why, Clay?
It says you shouldn't. You should not. Yeah.
There's 0 other company out there that will ever say that. So we actually mean that, right? So hopefully you can figure it out. Hopefully you can find a place, whatever. If you can't, we are happy to do it, and we're happy to provide the services, but it's not going to suck. Anything that we do, it is going to absolutely be the best. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
We would, the moment that it sucks, I mean, to the point of no return, it's done. I wouldn't even continue, and you wouldn't either if there was no way to make it awesome. And so that is our whole goal, is to have fantastic people serving you. I mean, that's really it. You need subject matter experts.
And another thing on the you shouldn't thing. I think it goes both ways, right? Some veterans use a VSO. It's really based on how much evidence you have, because even a crappy VSO who just submits claims, if you have all the evidence, you got to straight shot to 100%, right?
Right.
And you're going to be fine 9 times out of 10. And I like to say it like this: the special operations and the SF community does not have a problem with 100%. Why? Because they have the evidence, right?
Right.
Their deployment cycles, their post-deployment health assessment surveys, that gives them the evidence, and they just go right along to 100% because they have it. And a crappy VSO can make that happen. The issue is what happens when you go to a VSO and they have a 6-month wait list, or you can't talk to them, or you've tried the VSO route, and there's many types of VSOs. There's your county VSO who gets paid. In my opinion, those are the best of the VSOs.
Thank you.
And there's like your accredited dude who's 73 at the VFW who happens to do claims for people who walk in. And I'm telling you, that is a very big gap. there. And so it's like, well, what do you have? The dude who lives in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, may not have the same access to a VSO that someone else has. And so we're pretty hardcore on why you should not use evidence-based VA claims. Once you kind of cross that line, I think that's the time where it's like, hey, if you're serious, here we are.
Right
now.
Yeah. And just to double down on that here real quick, what happens is, one, you could have long delays to get into a VSO. And then traditionally, and again, I came from that world as an accredited veteran service officer running the team at the county level. I knew very much about all the counties in the state, and I knew a lot of places throughout the nation. And one thing is absolutely for sure, not every single county veteran service office has the same level of funding, the same level of commitment from the county leadership. So what happens is notoriously they are underfunded. What does that mean? That means that they can't be proactive. Well, if you can't be proactive, then what are you going to do? Be reactive. If you're reactive, what are you going to do? You're going to just be an order taker. Somebody who walks in and says, hey, I need a file for my back. Cool. Bad back. Thanks. And they send it. They don't sit there to explore all of the other aspects that could surround that and any other conditions that you could possibly have to throw on that claim. And that's a dangerous spot to be in, because you will miss out and lose tens of thousands of dollars that will never come back. So again, another reason why we're here. All right, Clay.
Yeah, we had a donation that I think I skipped over, so I definitely apologize. But Edmund Dugar says, how long does it take to hear back from you guys? I'm at 90%. I tell you right now, if you email us, I'm going to spend the evening. We have movie night with our kids. We're probably watching like King of Kings or Mermaid or whatever. I'm going to be on my phone sending out emails. So I'm going to answer all of them tonight. So if you email right now, I promise you'll have an answer by tonight. And when we first dropped it on Veterans Daily, first off, that video got an insane amount of views, and we weren't expecting that.
Right.
We had over 600 emails in about a day and a half, and I answered every single one, and I'm not joking about that. So yeah, I'll definitely answer. And then he says, I filled out a consult form on your website, no email yet. If you did that today, let me actually pull that up, because I don't want to make sure.
Nice.
So I want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So while you're looking that up, so for those that want to get a hold of us, one, you can go to the website, which we just created, and that is EB Echo Bravo VAClaims.com. EBVAClaims.com. And then if you want to email us, it's VAClaims at EB Echo Bravo VAClaims.com. Either way is fine. Clay's going in to see if the little, whatever, the doohickey works on the website, sending it through that way. We did have a couple people, just for awareness, right? We're figuring it out. The email system, depending on where you're emailing from, might shoot you into the spam folder. So we also have to look at spam inside of our email. So there's little things that we're still figuring out, which is, the growing pains of all this. If for some reason you're not getting responded to within a reasonable amount of time, try again, or try to throw on a comment in a live, that type of stuff to ping us, so we're aware that there's a problem. We need to identify these types of things if they do arise. Clay.
I got it. So first, you did fill out the contact form, because I see it. When you fill out a contact form, it gives me your email, and I can see what you're doing there. I sent you an email, and I got a response at 5:09 p.m. that says recipient inbox is full. So Mr. Edmund Dugar, I won't read out your email, obviously. Shoot us an email, okay? You might want to start. I don't know how many emails you have to have your inbox full, because my inboxes are insane. So you have to have more than me. Shoot us an email, all right? Clear up some space there, and we'll get that going for you. But I have your email right here. Anyways, yes, thank you for double tapping that. Also check your spam. That's been a crux here. All right. This person says Platoon Daddy. First off, I love this name. Okay. I love the picture there. I'm so ready to read your comment here. I don't screen comments, by the way. I just, if I think it's a good one, I'll hit a star. So it says, why do people think 100 VA disability is easy to get? That's a great question. My tech friends watches Caleb Hammer. Do you know who that is? It's a millennial. He's basically Dave Ramsey, but younger and very soundbite clickbaity. And then it says, and always says, all these vets with 100 on the show, and they didn't even deploy. Am I missing something? So first off, I would say civilians are not going to understand what VA disability is because they equate disability with SSDI, right? Because that's what they know. That assumes that they even know what SSDI is, right?
Right.
And so that I wish we would just say VA service connection compensation. That's what I would name it to personally. But that's a huge issue. So Caleb Hammer is a content creator, millions of followers on the financial space. He looks at financials. And sometimes veterans will come on the show and talk about how they're 100%, and they kind of flaunt it around. So I guess that's what you're talking about. That's not even what I wanted to address here. Jason, why do you think people think 100% is easy to get?
YouTube.
Yeah. Hey,
I think, because I mean, look,
that's a great point. That's a great point.
Once you take a bite of the VA apple, right? That VA disability compensation, and you realize, wow, this tastes pretty good. Then you start to open up your mind and go, okay, well, is there anything else that I'm missing for my specific situation? So you start to do some searching. Next thing you know, you see 1,000 videos talking about getting to 100%. And most people aren't saying, look, it's really difficult and you're probably not going to get there. What they're saying is you can get there and this is how you do it. And I've said that, this is how you do it. It's secondaries. It's looking for increases. It's making sure that you're rated appropriately. I think that we need to change it a little bit and talk more about, and you do a great job of it, Clay. And I think that we've kind of both shifted over the course of the year or so, and really speak to it more about being rated appropriately, right? And if appropriately is 40% for you, then that's what it is, right? If it's 80, it's 80. If it's 100, it's 100. If it's 100 plus some SMC, or if it's all the way over to SMC, everybody's story is different. But I think that a lot of people, you see the YouTube videos and you think that it's easy. The people that get it, that flaunt it, which is annoying, kind of add to that. And then I think awareness. So if you look to buy a new car, right, and you're thinking, okay, now I know which one I want, right? You kind of have you're going to get your dream car, right? And as soon as you're about ready to pull the trigger on that, what do? You start noticing that car every single turn you make. There's that car that I'm going to get. There's that car. You start noticing it everywhere. You start noticing the 100% disabled veteran license plates everywhere, right? And you're like, oh, there's another 100% disabled vet. There's another one. But the reality is that there's far fewer people at 100% than at any of the other percentages, right? So there's more in the 0 to 90 than there is at 100. And if you take that 100% veteran population, it's really small compared to the total veteran population. Do I think there's probably should be more? There probably should, and it's just people that don't understand that they should even be filing to begin with. So watching and looking and being rated appropriate is the most important thing, though. Back over to you, Clay.
Yeah, I sent you a private chat. Just give me a good yes or no, and then we'll go that route. Anyways, I do want to hit on, first off, Bobby D says you guys are the best at this. Thank you. I do genuinely believe that Veterans Info Tap and the CivDiv are the best channels out there personally.
Which is why we created Veterans Daily.
Yeah. And so, and that actually started because I reached out to Jason and was like, hey, I have a video idea if you want to collab on. And he's like, sure, but we should start our own channel. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. That was it. It was like a 5-minute conversation. It was pretty easy. And now here we are. That was a year ago in February. So we're about a year and a half into Veterans Daily. So
nice.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby Dees. I know Bobby Dees has been a long time fan of this channel, of other channels. I'm sure yours as well, but she's just, I see her name everywhere. She was actually on my live and I heard her voice for the first time, which was weird because I've known her a solid 2 years now.
Wow. Yeah.
Haven't heard her voice, but we have a donation here. Says just got a NL for back secondary to hip. Yeah. Looking at hips and back, those are commonly linked together. I see more hip conditions for people who are airborne, right? So if I'm doing a one-on-one with a veteran and they say they're Army, and I'll look at their unit, right? Because in the Army, you can be supply, but a part of the 82nd. And so in the Marine Corps, it's not like that at all. Like the airborne and Marine Corps is a very small community. So I will know straight up if they are or not, depending on if they're like in the Army. I always have to ask those questions. But there are so many little unique situations that I think people often overlook. XC Depp says, I went to my VSO at the county. She did nothing but submit the forms. Arguably, and you were a VSO, so definitely weigh on this. Yeah. Arguably, that's their job. I don't think there's a requirement for VSOs to really consult the veteran and get them the most bang for their buck.
Right.
I think they're there to help a veteran obtain benefits, and that word "help" there is a 9 to 5. Yeah. Or it's I'm dedicating my life to helping veterans. Like it is a very large gap. Do you want to?
Right. That's a great way to put it. I mean, at the end of the day, when I was the veteran service officer, the head of the veteran service office with the reps, our team was fantastic, and everybody had that mindset of really digging in and doing the best they could for every single veteran that walked through the door. But that news traveled quick, and we started to get neighboring counties veterans calling in. We started getting, word of mouth, getting people from other states calling in and wanting to do Zoom appointments. We had people in Japan, people overseas, people in Turkey, wherever, calling in for help. And then it started to become more difficult to serve the people of the county because we're serving everybody. So we had to kind of curtail that back. But again, not everybody, it's a people business, right? Not everybody has the same mindset. And so if you have one that is like that and good and leans forward and can dig in and spends the time, awesome. Mm-hmm. You are one of the lucky ones. But don't get that confused with every single veteran service officer or office is the same, because they're not. And sometimes it's again, because they just don't have the support. And so they're just super reactive with a line of people out the door every single day. And every single day they walk in, they're just like, I wish I had 3 more people working here. And it's debilitating. So not to throw out excuses, but again, I mean, it's those situations that forced essentially. Look, this is not a new thing that we've talked about. We have talked about doing this for like a year, and really it's just our hand got forced, right? It's like, look, no matter how much information we push out, there's still people out there that are a little lost in the sauce. It's a little too nuanced. Their situation's a little more difficult. They're not quite sure they need a little more specific one-on-one interaction. And, it's, we couldn't stand seeing people go to these other organizations. So we're filling the gap. That's where we're at.
Yeah. There's, I don't know what's happening today. So the whole purpose of this live was not to like get donations or do any of that. They're just, it's just happening. Okay. So don't feel like you have to. I can tell you, We are extremely grateful. I can't tell whose channel it's going to, but I can tell you right now that if it helps one of us, it helps all of us. So a box of chocolates, thank you very much. I don't see a chat from you. If you do have a chat or a question, please drop. I mean, you have our full attention, just so you know. Just drop it down and I'll catch it. And then same thing with OJ Wild. It's wild this is happening right now. Clay and Jay, you rock. Thank you for what you do for the veterans community. Well, first off, thank you. Like, definitely, I always feel weird. I don't even know what to say. You know, whenever, what is it, Talladega Nights, when he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. That's kind of what I feel like in these moments. But box of chocolates, if you have a question, please drop it down. I definitely don't want to skip over your question. In the meantime, though, I'm just going to go down the list here.
Hey, and real quick on your question to me, I concur.
Okay. Yes, let's do that.
Yeah. So you could maybe throw out like a drop dead time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By midnight or something.
By midnight tonight. And that came up. There's someone asked about it. So I want to pull up this just so it brings some context here. Seth Hummer. Okay. Yes, we will do that right now. Let's call it $100 off. I think it's fair. $100 off if you email us today. Okay, and it's gonna end by midnight. You don't have to pay the invoice. Just email us today. I'll label you with discount. I'll figure out how to do that. And then if you go through with the sale, and I'm saying that because it's the weekend, right? I'm not gonna expect our coaches to do anything on the weekends. So we can absolutely give some grace there. But if you email us before midnight tonight, Seth, that includes you. And yes, I understand our email chain there. We'll do $100 off. I think that's fair. But you got to email us tonight. Okay. If it's at 12:01, and I'm talking Eastern time, right? Eastern Standard Zone, 12 p.m. That's midnight. Or no, 12 a.m. Right? 12:01.
Yeah, it's a.m.
Yeah, 12. And I guess in the Marine Corps, did you say it balls 01? That's how, because like in military time, it's 24. It's 0001, but you would just say balls 1.
It sounded like you had marbles in your mouth. What'd you say?
Yeah. Balls 1. Like
that's
balls.
one. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's how. I guess not. Okay. So yes, $100 off. If you email us tonight, I think.
Back in my day, we were too busy working.
Oh yeah, I was too busy deploying back to back.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Okay, Bernie talking about the marble.
Oh, how
funny! Have you ever helped veterans with IU make it to 100? I have done it for one veteran, not a part of evidence-based VA claims. This is a new venture we've done, and it came down to this veteran was in his early 30s. He was awarded IU. He didn't want IU. I had to sit down with him face to face and was like, listen, dude, are you okay with being, like, worst case scenario, are you okay with being at 80% and working? Or do you plan to work in the future? Or 3, do you want to work? If all of those are yes, I would feel comfortable with IU. If you're like 73, evidence-based VA claims yesterday had a veteran who was in his 70s talking about wanting to submit more claims because he wants P&T and not IU P&T. And I was just like, dude, I told in the email, I was like, just so you know, I'm going to respond to this. This service is not for you. I'm deleting your email. Don't submit any claims ever, right? Because you're in your 70s, dude. Like your work life is over. So that's a huge gap as well, right? So when it comes to IU, I can tell you right now, I would be like, personally, I would ask you very intimate type questions to really make sure of what you want. And then depending on your answers, then we could, but I can tell you right now, it's like a 5% chance that answer is a yes. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Again, it comes down to the nuances, right? It has to make sense. If it's just because, then that's not really a sound reason, right? If there was hard evidence that something was going to be changing and and current people weren't going to be grandfathered in, well, then that's a different story, right? And there could be a path there. But if you're not planning on earning significance, the wrong word. If you're not planning on earning a level of income that's higher than, say, the poverty level, because a common misperception or misconception out there is that you have to make $0. Ideally, I mean, a lot of people say don't make a penny, right? It's just to drive home the point that you don't want to go out there and make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year while you're on IU.
We had that dude volunteer. He had enough volunteer hours that landed him in prison. So he actually should be out. Should be out about now. So
that's true. What was it? 6 months, huh? Yeah.
Food for thought. It's a prison real. Yeah.
That is real. So that's that was a whole for those that don't know. I don't even know, man. That was back in January. Was it January? Or no, it was December. It was around Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot what his report date was, but we gotta be.
I think it was in January. Like it was like 2 weeks after we talked or something. So for those that don't know,
July 4th, because it's Freedom Day.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had his name was Jeremy. I can't remember his last name. And
Hatcher, something like that.
Anyway, so anybody who's interested in that circumstance, we had him come on, basically and got his side of the story. Wherever you fall on believing, not believing, whatever. It's good to share the information. And essentially what his story is that he was on IU. But I think like most veterans, probably the worst thing for you to do is just isolate yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was like, I need to do something, right? And I would prefer to be around other veterans because at least I can say stupid jokes that they get and I'm not offending anybody. So he starts a nonprofit helping veterans. Well, at first he just started helping veterans. Then people told him he should start a nonprofit and do it. He did that. Then he was basically living there. I mean, what am I going to do? Sit at home on my couch and watch Judge Judy, who I don't like anymore. That's a whole other one. Remember that?
Another video we did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Judge Judy with her. Oh boy.
Anyway, a good portion of my childhood, but
right. Well, yeah, it's tainted now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the whole point is that the VA, quote unquote, got him because he was demonstrating that he could spend 40 hours or whatever in a working capacity, even though he says that he earned $0 through his time helping veterans. So interesting story. Check it out if you haven't seen it. All right, back over to you, Clay.
Yeah, we have another. It's not the point of this stream, just so you know. Okay,
right.
BF with a donation. Thank you very much. We're definitely grateful. Says, I need a physician to get a Nexus for sinusitis. Any suggestions? I'm in Georgia. So it's hard for me to recommend a Nexus Letter just on this comment, but I'll give you my thoughts. All right. First off, are you presumptive? That's my number one question. Because if so, the answer is absolutely not. Anyone who would take money from you should honestly go to prison, in my opinion.
Yes. Okay? Yes.
In place of Jeremy, right? Because I think Jeremy's a good dude, at least from the small interaction that we had with him. So if you're not presumptive, okay, I would still look at exposure, not presumption. I would look at exposure, explore that route. If both of those are no, I would look at competing evidence. If that is absent, which would be a good thing, then I would feel comfortable at least recommending you getting a Nexus Letter. Another question I would ask too is, let's just assume it's 10% for sinusitis, right? Because it's 10, 30, and 50.
I think 30, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's 10. Would that increase your overall rating? Would 30, like what rating would increase your rating? The reason that matters is because if you're at 90 and that would increase you to 100, all of a sudden I feel way comfortable recommending a Nexus Letter, right? Versus like you're at 75%, which is 80, and this Nexus Letter service connection at 50 would give you 84%. That's still 80, right? And how bad would it suck to pay for a Nexus and get an increase, but not an overall increase? But regardless, first off, just so everyone knows, that's what we do at Evidence-Based Claims. We explore every single avenue with you. you'll be able to understand. But to answer your question, on all 3 of our channels, you'll find American Medical Expert links. Our Veterans Daily channel has a joint link for American Medical Experts. That's who we would recommend. Okay. There's no way I can recommend a physician in vicinity of you because I don't know them. Right. I just don't know. In fact, AME might have a physician in Georgia. That might be you get a free consultation. That's a great question to ask them, especially if you want that in-person type of nexus. But for sinusitis, you have a CT scan. That is A-okay there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that sometimes I think people, when they hear, do I need to get a Nexus letter or should I get a Nexus letter, they automatically assume that it's a paid for document. Your doctor, if you have a private doctor, might actually do one for you. However, this is if you can do it that way, great. It might just be free, but you will need to bring your private doctor up to speed with VA world. Because look, at the end of the day, it's a blank piece of paper that they got to put words on, and you need it to be filled with rationale and really highlight the nexus aspects as it relates to your time in service. Now, if you can articulate that, bring your doctor up to speed, maybe give them an example of what you're looking for. That might help.
Mm-hmm.
That's you would have to do that. You can't just go, hey, can you write me a Nexus letter? Thanks. Because they're not going to do it as good as you need it to be. If that doesn't work, then AME is a solid choice. We've in fact, Clay, I actually reached out to AME, and I have 2 folks that utilize their service that I'm reaching out to have come on to the channel and just kind of give like a walkthrough on how that worked. So
that's a great idea. I might steal that from you.
Well, thank you.
MYOB says, do AME have specialists? That's all they have. Like that's if they didn't have specialists, we would not recommend them. Let me just say that, right?
Yeah.
We have to end this stream here at some point. We have 2 more donations I really wanted to get to. That's why I wanted to kind of butt in there. My bad, Jason.
Yeah, no, go.
We have another donation from Rowdy Burns _51. Hilarious name, depending on where that burn is. Says, got denied on Meniere's, or did you get the burn while you were Rowdy? See what got denied on Meniere's with Nexus for my VA CCENT that cited studies of aircraft maintainers being more prone. CMP examiner disagreed and Rater put more weight on exam opinion. Is HLR a good option? Based on this comment and this comment alone, HLR is what I would recommend. The fact that your Nexus letter came from a VA doc doesn't equate service connection. I just want to make that clear. I'm glad to see your provider did a Nexus letter at the VA. That's what everyone should do. That's not the case though. I would be curious as to the evidence that was cited, not the study that was cited, the evidence that was cited, which is your evidence, right? Mm-hmm. Not what aircraft maintainers have in the last 10 years. I'm talking about you. What's your evidence? What's your competing evidence? Like, why did the CMP examiner disagree? That's my first question. But without having that ability to ask you that, HLR is what I would do. Anytime a veteran submits a Nexus letter, HLR, if denied, HLR is what I would recommend. You want to? So
I'm gonna add some important stuff here. Make sure that when you do an HLR, that you check the box that you want in an informal conference. That doesn't automatically happen. You have to actually check the box that says that that's what you want. Now, when you actually do have your informal conference, have a pen and paper with you and take notes and ask good questions, because you want to understand clearly from them why it was denied, because they're either going to overturn it or they're going to continue it as denied. And if they continue it as denied, you need to be prepared to fight that. You need to know, just like Clay was saying, why in fact it was denied. And I love the point that you made, Clay, that sure, maintainers historically are more prone. but what specifically about yours put you into that bucket?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, let's say 60% or more prone, 40% or not. Are you part of the 40% group or the 60% group? Right? We need to figure out that aspect of it. I did like that a VA actual employee, doctor, whatever, put that together. That's good.
Yeah.
But you need to be prepared for the supplemental. So if you do an HLR first, supplemental is your next course of action, and you want to make sure that you're able to do that at that point, because you already have your Nexus from the VA. You actually have a couple choices. You can go back to that doc and say, hey, doc, they said you're full of shit. Excuse my language. And they're going to be irritated. And they're going to be, oh, yeah? Well, now I'm going to stay up all night writing a 40-page Nexus letter because I'm irritated. So that might work in your favor. And you definitely should engage in that conversation. One, because it's free. And two, because now you have somebody motivated to get it done. If that doesn't work out or it's not coming together like you want, you can always shift gears and go over to AME. Back to you. Right?
What I just realized is my Alexa, which is right here, and it turned blue because I said its name, glows whenever we talk. I didn't know that until now.
It's recording you. It records everything, Clay.
And I've had Alexa's. We have meshed through my whole home, so I'll put on Spotify and listen everywhere. So as I walk through the house, I'm a millennial. Sorry. Anyways, Vincent Taylor, thank you very much for that. We definitely appreciate it. I went through the chat to see if you had a question. I did not find any. Really quick, drop it down below because we're about to end the stream here. And BF with a second $20 donation. You don't have to do that, dude, but thank you. Appreciate it. Let me read your first question because I'm pretty sure these are connected. So I need a physician to get a Nexus for sinusitis. All right. You have a CT scan. You have the diagnosis for sinusitis and rhinitis. 4 events from service. Just need the link 10% get my sleep apnea with CPAP approved. I can tell you right now, if you haven't been denied those because you have 4 events from service, I'm going to assume at least one of those is medically documented. I would just submit the claim. That's what I would do. Now, if they aren't medically documented, right, and then those ratings would push your overall rating, then sure, Nexus Letter, I would feel comfortable. But I would whenever we say documented, is it like a post or pre-deployment health assessment? Because that's like the golden ticket, right?
Yeah.
Is it you told the doc that you were sneezing one day, and that's a big gap. Like, what events from service are we actually talking about here? Let's just go ahead and end this on one more question here, or not a question. This is a statement. Here's a good way to end this stream. Anchorage prepper, right? What is that? Anchorage, Alaska, and you're a prepper. So that's wild. I guess if you were in Alaska, like Russia's technically not too far away, landmass, so to speak. Anyways, your new company is really bringing value to the veteran community. Much respect and a big thank you. I think so. Jason alluded to it, and we've been talking about doing this for a while here. It comes down to this. How many veterans that have watched Veterans Info Tap and the Civ Div and went to someone to pay 5 times the increase, to pay 6 times the increase? We charge $13.99 one-time flat fee. If you email tonight, you get $100 off. We can do that for you. That's no big deal at all. So it'll be $12.99. People get upset at the price that we charge, which is insane to me because 90 to 100% is an $8,000 minimum on 5 times and 6 times the increase. And so it's just insane to me how many veterans we've indirectly sent to companies that are basically siphoning from taxpayer dollars. And I had to stop there because I will go straight down. It'll only get worse from there. We had a last minute donation. We can't just stop it here. Vincent, thank you for your second donation. We appreciate that. I'm medically retired less than 20 years, 100% PNC with sleep apnea, was deployed to Iraq. Am I able to receive my retirement pay plus VA benefit pay? The answer is yes. I'm sorry. No. It depends on what. It depends.
Richard Starr Act. You need the Richard Starr Act.
Well, there's a 15-year criteria though. There's always little things. If
Yeah.
you served more than 15 years, that answer could be yes. If it's less, the answer is no. The Major Richard Starr Act does apply to you, and so what is the nature of your retirement, right? Because again, people at 19 and a half years who medically retire would be pushed into that. I'm going to call it normal retirement. I don't know what it's called. So it just depends on what that is. But it sounds like this person doesn't know, so they're waiting on their rating. And I got a feeling that you're about to find out here really soon.
Yeah, and the thing too is that, you know, there's so for those that don't know, just to take this opportunity, when you hit retirement, if normal, not medically retired, you hit the 20-year mark, you retire, you're able to put in for concurrent receipt of both your compensation and your military retirement if your VA compensation is over 50% rating. So if your VA rating is 50% or higher, you can put in for that concurrent receipt and receive all of your VA and all of your military retirement if you retired 20 plus years, normal retirement. There's also CRSC, and I know this, we're not going to dive deep into this, but CRSC is the combat related special compensation, which might also be applicable as well. So something else to look into.
Yeah, I think we end it here, because if we don't, my wife will come down and say
nobody
something.
wants to see that. Yeah.
In worst case scenario, she'll just unplug the Wi-Fi, because that's how petty she can be sometimes.
Nice.
And if you're watching this, I meant that. Anyways, that's all I got. You know, Jason's iconic outro. Go ahead and take us out. I tried to do it last time. I butchered it. So
I feel like it's intentional, but that's okay, Clay.
It may be.
Slightly. It's all right. So, hey, look, like I always say at the end of all my videos, for anybody who's hung on to the end of any of them, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong. And it's true.
Nice.